Barstool Rugby fans, how we doing? Dylan Saucedo here, and we are back for another week of Man of the Match Wednesday with the Seattle Seawolves. Super excited to get on the live today and chat some rugby. It's been a long season, but we're finally here, and the MLR playoffs are started. Just like my guy Will Hooley said last week, it's playoff time, America. A week from Saturday, the two-seeded Seawolves will take on the San Diego Legion in another rivalry clash, this time back up in the Pacific Northwest. Seattle ends the season 11-5 and looks to grab their third MLR shield in just a few weeks' time. Today we're going to chat with our men of the match from the last match on the year. Duncan Matthews in the backs, and then returning to the live today will be Daquan Perry from the forwards. So we're going to start with Duncan today and go ahead and get started here. Obviously a big few weeks in rugby. The Olympics coming up. Well, USA just played one against Romania and fell short, unfortunately, but this weekend, I believe, coming back again in DC for another match against Scotland. So super excited to watch that one this weekend and just watch some rugby. Making some great strides, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. Duncan, how's it going, my guy?
Hi, how's it, man? Good in you?
Doing well. John today, and great to meet you. It's Dylan Saucedo here with Barstool Rugby. Just here to talk some rugby with you today. Talk a little bit about the season, a little bit about your rugby journey. For the guys to get better at their rugby career and kind of grow that game as we do. So great to have you on today. Like I said, if you guys don't know Duncan, he's in his third year in the MLR. I spent all those seasons with Seattle as a guaranteed line break in the back line. Before the MLR, he spent some time with both the Lions and the Bulls down in the Curie Cup, as well as in Super Rugby. Duncan has been a great piece of the back line this year. In the last week of the regular season, he finds himself as our back of the match. So Duncan, going to get started here and talk about a little bit. Obviously, been a great year for you boys. Aside from some ups and downs, some injuries, some sickness, those kind of things, and they happen to great teams every year, right? So dealing with some of those things, still finished 11-5, 2 seed in the West, and home field advantage in that first round. Year 3 for you, obviously, here in Seattle and in the States. Talk a little bit about the experience for you. How's the season been for you?
Yeah, I think obviously the injuries hasn't been too great for us. We've lost some key players, some guys who bring a lot of value to our team. But I think the fact that we're still in the playoff position now at the moment with a home playoff, it just shows the depth we have in our squad. And I mean the guys that's coming, taking the opportunity with both hands and just stepping up for the boys.
Definitely. So we've seen a few additions to your guys' squad as well in the past few weeks. And those guys have been able to come in and just make an impact right away, right? A few of those guys, Manate, Devin was brought back into the squad as well, Jackson and Colby being brought on. Great additions there and been able to really take in that Seawolf rugby and show it on the field. And that's been great to watch. I'm sure you've been able to kind of see, how this bond's been growing, I guess, over the past couple of weeks. What's it been like to kind of have this new group of guys, fresh sets of legs, going right into the playoffs here? Kind of the idea for you guys moving into this game?
Yeah, I think the fact that those guys have slotted in so well is testament of what a great culture we have at the Seawolves. I know Clarkie has always made it a priority to sign guys that can get along with each other, and I think this is probably the team where if we say you play for the boys, this is one of those teams, and the guys coming in. All of them have been for the boys. They come in with no egos. They come in to learn. They come in to play good rugby. Understand? So I think that's helped us as well. Like I said, with the injuries that we had and having to bring in guys on short notice. I mean, in most teams, I feel like there would be egos, and there would be egos from guys who feel like they should probably play above those guys. But I think we have a really good culture, and I know a lot of people say that, but we have a really good culture in terms of just the guys. Like, there's not a single guy that I can't sit down with and have a beer with or have a chat with. So I think that's always been one of our strengths.
Great to hear, right? I think the best part of rugby is being able to create those bonds, right? Guys coming from all around the world, yourself from South Africa, a few other guys from around, other parts of the world. It's great to see how you guys really come together and kind of bring your styles to play together and kind of make this Seawolf rugby happen, right? Kind of like you're saying, just new guys being brought in, being able to kind of put their backs on the line for the boys and kind of show that to you guys early on is a great piece of it. In your organization, I think it's always kind of been a strength of the Seawolves, right? The culture, I think that's kind of the secret here. You guys have been, in the league for the I guess the full time of the league. And in that time, they've really been able to make the playoffs, make an impact, finish the season on a high note. And I think that, really shows what that culture brings to the table. What's it been like to be a part of this organization, this squad over the past few years, and kind of see the growth of the squad, making those playoff appearances and finally getting another one this year?
Yeah, like I obviously got here, I think in 2022 it was, and I know from conversations with guys like JP Smith, the environment and the setup wasn't too great when he got here, and I mean when I got here it was already a very big improvement in terms of just getting a professional environment going, and I know now where we are now from where I started in 2022. I mean there's some things that and a lot of people will go at me for this, but there's a lot of things that's in a sense better than what we had in South Africa. And I mean in South Africa rugby is pretty big, understand, but I think for example just in terms of the snacks we get, like the recovery snacks and the what's being provided for us to make sure that we are performing at our optimum level is at some points it's better than what we got in South Africa, and I think that's just a sign of what's to come. I know America and everything in America is bigger and better, so I know once it takes off and once everything that's already been done pays off and everyone gets on board, I think it's going to be very good for rugby in general.
Oh, that was my next question for you, right? Seeing kind of the league grow as a professionalism aspect, right? You talk about kind of the off the field stuff, some of the things that are being provided for you guys as professional athletes. I think that's part of the job, right? In other leagues, especially in the States here, I know the NFL, the NBA, like the MLB, they're all very professional in a way, right? Have all these kind of, ins and outs, these little tiny, things that help these guys get better, help them stay at that level. I think it's great they're able to, provide this for you guys in the MLR now these days, and kind of helping that grow, right? My next question was going to be, this level of play has increased. The fans have gotten better. Players are in the media a bit more, and the professionalism has just grown. I was going to ask your thoughts on that, but you kind of gave them right there. So, that was a great piece there. Kind of talking back to the team here, the backline's been able to do some real damage this year. And you kind of talk about that bond between the guys. Jade's fifth in the league for tries scored. Max leading the league in points scored. For the boys making an appearance for the USA this summer, I think it just speaks to how you guys are pushing each other up, right? Talk about that backline a little bit and what you guys are looking to do come, next weekend in that playoff appearance.
Yeah, I think our backline has been promising or showing signs of I would say greatness for a long time and a lot of the times, but I think we haven't really, and we'll be the first to say that we haven't really shown the ability we have. I think we have, in my opinion, the best backline in the league, just based on talent. And I think you saw some of that on the weekend against San Diego, last week against San Diego. And I mean, that's just playing rugby. That's just, let's get the ball in the hands of our fast guys. And I'm really excited about getting to play at our ability and seeing how that looks, how that comes off. Because I think the thing about rugby, and I think maybe in all sports, is that once everyone fires, then it's so much easier to make that step up from, say, you're an average player, but once you play with 5 really good guys, above average guys, immediately you make that step up as well. So that's why I feel like we have top quality guys in our team at the moment. Mac Mason, for example, I mean, an out-and-out baller. Jade Stickling, the second fastest guy in our team. But yeah, just absolute insane athletes, and I'm just really excited to see that come off, and I don't believe that's come off yet.
Yeah.
And I think we have an opportunity on the weekend against San Diego to play it out at our best and play at our potential, and I think that would be amazing.
Great stuff. And you heard it here first. The line in the MLR, straight from Duncan. I love to hear that, and the hunger that you have to kind of keep this season going and really show that full performance you guys really need to put out and really can put out. You guys have been waiting for that for a few weeks. I think the bond has been, just to that right point now where you're able to kind of go do that. And it's very, exciting to see and very, I think weekend quite a bit, or this next weekend quite a bit. You said second fastest on the team for Jade. Who's the first?
Yeah, JP Smith would say he's the first, but it's definitely me.
There you go. There you go.
No, I'm actually joking. JD's the fastest. I just want to give him a bit of.
Great. Of course, none of these little wins, that we're talking about mean anything without the Shield, right? Obviously, trying to go get that Shield, we want those playoff wins, and we really want to make a statement here in these first couple matches. In your 3 years here, a final appearance, a semifinal appearance, and then a run waiting to happen as we speak here. Another rivalry matchup and a very familiar opponent, San Diego. You talk about that last match and how you guys were able to kind of fire off the back foot there and get moving. What's the focus for the back line leading into this one? Anything you guys have been working on to kind of hone in on this match here?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think for us it's just doing what we do well, and like I say, we haven't. I don't believe we fired at our base. We haven't played our base rugby. Just as a backline, we haven't played our base rugby. We obviously we have the talent. So for us, it's focusing on what we do well, and I believe that would be enough.
Definitely. Definitely will be. And, just seeing kind of how you guys are growing throughout the season and, waiting for that full 80-minute performance. And I think we're going to get it next Sunday, I believe. So very excited for that one. Wanted to switch gears a little bit here and talk more about your rugby journey, how you got here, what here and, above there. I love hearing kind of how you guys fell in love with the game and then why you kind of took it to this level, right? How did you find rugby? I know South Africa is obviously rugby is king there, but how did you find rugby and then why did you stick with it?
Yeah, my rugby journey started basically because I was fast, and in South Africa, if you fast, the next thing is rugby. So I ended up playing rugby, and from there it became an opportunity because I come from a very disadvantaged side of South Africa, and for me it became an opportunity to get out of that environment, get out of where I come from, and from there on, it's just been just being grateful for the opportunity and taking it with both hands and working hard and just being where I am now in America. So for me, it started off with just having a bit of speed, and then realizing that this is kind of an opportunity. This is a way out of where I come from, of some or severe poverty. So yeah, that's where my journey and my love of the game started. And it's still, to me, it is a means to an end. It is a means to becoming the best version of myself, to meeting people that will be my friends for the rest of my life. It's just been an incredible additional opportunity in my life.
There you go. No, and I think that's, what the game of rugby provides for a lot of us, right? Kind of that family aspect, that brotherhood that, we're all looking for as young guys, right? Going back to kind of your academy days, you were able to, get some academy time with the Blue Bulls, being 19, 20 years old, kind of 21, that age there's a lot of stuff going on in life, right? Trying to, just grow up in general, maybe, going to school, maybe working a job, those kind of things, right? All come into play, especially on the rugby pitch when there's, 15 guys flying full speed at you because you got the ball in your hands. I'm that age right now, and it's just, life's crazy. What are some things that you had to work extra hard on to kind of improve your game at that younger age, to get kind of through the academy and into professional rugby?
Yeah, discipline, definitely. Discipline in being aware of the temptations and just, I was in Pretoria where there was a big party life, and to a point I did enjoy that life. I went to varsity, but yeah, just being aware of the temptations of life and the young student life, because in the end you always have to be responsible and be aware that being a professional athlete is sacrificing to a lot of extent. So just, I think finding that balance is key. I wouldn't say completely sacrifice. Everyone has a different opinion. To me, I think I've had a good journey in my life where I've met people that's going to be my friends for the rest of my life, and I've met them through going out, having a beer, just having fun, understand, letting go of the kind of responsibility you have of being a professional athlete. And I've also met people that's going to be there in my career after rugby, in my business career, in achieving the things I want to achieve after rugby, understand. So if I was just focused on rugby, maybe my journey would have been different. But I feel I've made good decisions in terms of finding a balance, and that would be my advice: is finding a balance, being aware of the sacrifices you ultimately have to make, but also enjoying life and realizing rugby will eventually come to an end, and in the end, it's that memories you made in your rugby career that you will carry on and carry over to the next part of your life.
No, definitely. I think that's a great piece of advice there. Taking that balance and really finding where you need to let go kind of and have a little bit of fun, right? Because it's always nice to have a little bit of fun with the boys. Like you said, sit down, have a brew with some guys, and that's where you really make those those extra connections, I guess. You can be friends on the rugby pitch all you want at training, after training, whatever. But it's those after training times that really bring the guys together, and I think really make a big impact on the team and how that goes together. You talk about kind of finding that balance, and I just love to hear that because I feel like a lot of ideas nowadays think that you really do need to kind of cut off all the fun and everything else that's outside of rugby, and I think that's a really good perspective to see, like, take a break a little bit and then come back to the focus and really get back to the job at hand, right? I think that's just a great piece of advice there, and great to hear from you, especially. You know Now, a handful of years later, you found yourself moving across the world to the U.S., playing with the Seawolves here in the MLR. Obviously a big change for your rugby life, but also big change in life as well, right? Moving across the world, your family and all that kind of stuff. What are some things that went into that decision for you? You talked about kind of trying to get out of Pretoria a little bit and maybe experience the world a little bit, but what kind of went into that decision on the rugby side of it, maybe moving across the world?
Yeah. So my dream's always been to play for South Africa. I think that's every young kid growing up in South Africa, and for me, to be honest, it was a hard decision to make, to leave South Africa, giving up on the dreams you had as a kid of playing for South Africa. I unfortunately got to a point after COVID or during COVID where I had just before COVID, I had a really bad concussion that didn't go treated. And long story short, it was basically diagnosed as a form of epilepsy, but it was wrongfully diagnosed. So there was a period of 2 years in my rugby career where I didn't play any rugby. So no team basically wanted me. And I got one opportunity to play for the Lions again. I scored 2 tries in that game, had a really good performance. And then I got a deal in France, and I also was approached by the Seawolves. But then it came to a point in my life where I was like, stuff has happened in my life. I have to now adapt, pivot, and make a decision about my future. And the decision to come to America was based on the language barrier. I know going to France, I have 2 kids. At that point I had a kid, and I have a wife. So for us, it was thinking about where we're going to fit in better. And I know a lot of guys who gone to France and they didn't fit in well because of the language barrier and the culture barrier. And I think as South Africans, we share a bit more of the culture with the Western American people. So the decision to come to America was largely based on my family and just the opportunities that America have outside of rugby, meeting people, thinking about life after rugby. It was, as I said, one of the hardest decisions I had to make. But I had some good friends, JP Smith, that was here already at the Seawolves, and he was telling me good things. And obviously, I wanted to link up with him again as well. So that made it easier to make that decision to come to the Seawolves. And I mean, I'm still here 3 years later, so it must have been good. So
There you go. No, and talking about that kind of thing, right? Like, being a rugby player has to be one of the best jobs in the world, right? Being able to travel the country a little bit, travel the world a little bit, bring your family along with you, and really experience life outside of the game. I think that's one of the best parts about being a professional rugby player. And some of the guys I've talked to have kind of put that into perspective there. I love to hear how you kind of think about everything there is outside of rugby, right? First couple times, like, you didn't say anything about the rugby, like, yes, there's an opportunity to play rugby, but what does my family need, right? What does my life kind of need outside of the game? Because that's what's important, right?
Yeah.
Hey, have fun. We want to play rugby. Like you said earlier, there's only so much time you can play this game, and so much time your body allows you to play this game. But at the end of the day, you gotta, stick out for yourself and find what's right, what the right decision is. And it's great to hear kind of how you did that. One question for you I have is, what are your plans after rugby? In the U.S. or maybe outside of that. What are you looking to do there?
Yeah. I think I saw a comment here. Please establish residency and play for USA. I think that's definitely one of the goals is to eventually stay in America. I think America is the greatest country in the world. I think there is ridiculous amount of opportunities if you're willing to work hard, if you're willing to make some sacrifices. So for me, that's been the first thing I noticed when I came to America. And like I said, when I came to America, to be honest, the plan wasn't to stay in America. The plan was to play a bit of rugby and get an opportunity outside of America and go play big rugby again, I understand. But once I came here, I realized that there's stuff I can achieve in America that I would never achieve in South Africa. No matter how hard I work, there's just the opportunities is just not the same, and the network is not the same. So for me and my wife in our plans after rugby, we are working towards staying in America long term. And I have a bit of a background in software engineering, and I like building AI applications, and I like tech. So like I said, I've met a lot of people here that's giving me a lot of insight and direction into where I would like to go after rugby, and it would definitely be in the tech field. So yeah, our long term plan is to gain residency in America and just use the opportunities that America has, which is it's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear, man. I think the greatest piece about rugby, another one of the greatest pieces of the game, right, is being able to kind of find that opportunity, right? I don't think in any other game across the world, maybe soccer, maybe a few others, but I know like in baseball and American football for sure, we're not going to be able to go to any other country and
Yeah,
just play this game.
100%.
The greatest part of it is being able to travel across the world, play this game, and just find the love for it along the way. And it's great to hear from you and kind of how you think about that. You're 3 years into your time in the States here. Talked about kind of going long term. Was sky for your guys' run here, but looking back on your time in Seattle, if you could give Duncan Matthews one piece of advice on his first day in Seattle, what would that be?
It would definitely be not to worry too much, but hindsight, obviously, it's much easier saying that. But yeah, it would be not to worry too much. In the end, things work out the way it should. For me, it has. So if I could give myself a piece of advice when I got here, it would just be to not worry as much as I did. Yeah.
That's good. Talk about coming over and maybe trying to go back or go somewhere else. Didn't know what the opportunity was like, and then you get here, find the opportunity is a great opportunity, want to stay for a little bit longer and end up having some fun with it.
Yeah.
Great talk. And about last question to finish off. We've talked about your lessons, everything you've learned in the game and the ranks. What advice do you have for those younger players still trying to get these high-level opportunities on the pitch?
Some advice I'd give myself if I was younger now it would definitely be to internalize the motivation you have to play rugby. Do not let external factors determine how hard you work. And the big reason for that is that external factors change, and if your motivation is based on external factors, then and it changes, ultimately your motivation is going to change. So something I've learned to do in my life is do everything with the idea of just wanting to be better. Just if it's a tough day of training, in my head, I am not proving anything to anyone. In my head, I am just being as good as I can be. I'm just trying to make myself better. And ultimately, for me, it's been such a mind shift in when I realized, or I came to that conclusion that I want to internalize my motivation and I want to be the best I can be and not do it to prove anything to anyone else. Because external factors change, people's opinion change, people change, and people come and go in your life. Understand? So if you internalize your motivation and you get up and you think that I'm going to be the best I can be, regardless of what anyone says or anyone thinks or what anyone expects from me, I feel like that's the best motivation you can have as an athlete or just as a human being.
That's the best piece of advice that I've heard all season long. Find your purpose and take it along with everything you do, and do it at 100%.
Yeah.
There and great to finish off there. It's been great to chat to you today and meet you on the live here. Appreciate your time and best of luck next weekend.
Thank you very much, man.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
All righty. Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All righty. Finished up that interview there with Duncan, and that was a great one. A great few pieces of advice there at the end, talking about finding your purpose, that inner motivation. He talked about, how people change, how opinions change, how the external factors can change at any given time. And, the one thing that can't change is what's inside of you and what you can, put out yourself, I guess. So your hard work and your dedication is something that you can control. And that's a great piece of advice there from him. We're going to go ahead and move on to our second part of the interview here with Duncan, or with the interview. Very excited to get to the second part here and talk to Daquan. Had him on a few weeks ago, and if you guys didn't see that one, go check it out afterwards. But going to go ahead and invite him and go ahead and get started here. Again, great piece of advice there from Duncan, and great interview overall. Love hearing guys' opinions, and we're going to start with Daquan. How's it going, brother?
Hey, Dylan, how are you, man?
Doing well, brother. Good to see you. Been playing some good rugby, and you're going to talk about that today. I was able to interview Daquan a few weeks ago and talk about that. If you weren't able to, go ahead and check that out. But if you don't know who this guy is, Daquan's in his second true year in the league as a utility knife on the pitch. He spent a year at Rugby New York after a great career over at Kutztown and has made his way now with the Seawolves. Daquan's also spent some time in the club scene here in the States. We got to check in with him on that last time. After a dominant performance on the defense in the last match of the regular season, Daquan finds himself as our forward of the match. So, brother, it's been a couple of weeks since I talked to you. Couple of sicknesses, couple of injuries there with the squad. Either way, finished 11-5 on the year, 2 seed in a home first thing. I heard you, or I saw you on Instagram say you're not happy with 2 in the West a couple weeks ago, and we're still not with it, and we want to win this first game, right? What's the kind of the idea going into this next match? Obviously you want to get that win, but what have you guys been focusing on?
Preparation, really focusing on ourselves. So when we go out there, we don't have to think about it. We're just playing like second nature.
Yeah.
It was a hard fought the last match. We played against them over in San Diego. They're a tough team. I got to give them that, but we just want to prepare where it's almost second nature, and we just go out and play. Because when everything's clicking with us, you've seen the footage, like where we're dangerous.
No, 100%, brother. When you guys play 80 minutes of that Seawolf rugby, it's tough to stop. You talked about that last match with San Diego. It was a close match there, and probably could have gone either way for sure. Just like that first match of the year, I think it could have gone either way as well. So 2 great sides there. Credit to San Diego for their performance and stuff. Great side there, and traveling up to you guys this next weekend. Very excited to kind of see what goes into that match. I credit these little wins, kind of the top point scorers and top try scorers, this and that. I credit all that stuff to the culture up there in Seattle. We talked about that a little bit ago, and it's just a great thing to see how also these new guys can come in, right? You guys added Manate, Jackson Zabrick, and Kobe Baker. I know Devin was brought back into the squad as well since the last time I talked to you. What's it been like to kind of have these new faces, fresh legs in the group, and kind of get them, into the agenda and at full pace?
Manate is one of my best friends, so I've known Manate for a while. So it was like a blessing getting him here. Got one of my dogs. So, like always when you get one of the guys coming to the team, it's always good. Jackson and Kobe, they've been great. They're cool guys. Couldn't have anybody else. They mesh well with the team.
Nice.
Devin's cool too. I played against Devin, but I really get to know Devin. Getting to know Devin, he's a cool guy too. Really cool dude. So they fit in well with the team.
Definitely. No, that's great to hear, right? I think it's been great to kind of see how they've, really fit into the squad, like you said, in the set piece, right? Because I think the lineout was really your guys' bread and butter for the first half of the season there. That forward pack was really the same, I guess, for those first, 10 weeks, I would say. And then after that, a few injuries kind of come through. Captain gets taken down, right? And guys step up to take a spot. Guys step up, they have his back, and they play great rugby. We've kind of seen that over the past few weeks, and I think that, this is probably the best time for you guys to really be at that peak mesh point in the season, right? Got a playoff match coming up, a big run hopefully coming up as well. And we talked the first time, it was your first start of the year, and you were kind of, still trying to make your way into that lineup. Now you're in that lineup, have made a few starts since then. And it's been a grind, obviously, for the season. Talk about that a little bit. It's been 8 weeks total, or 18 weeks total, 20 if you count the preseason, and hopefully we have 3 more, on the way for us. But how do you get through this whole season healthy, put yourself in a position to play your best rugby at the year?
Um, Honestly, playing rugby, I don't think you ever get through a whole season healthy, if I'm gonna be
There you
honest.
go.
You you just kind of get injuries that you can play through, you
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
But like you got to win the
Yeah.
recovery, the ice baths, maybe go swim in a lake, the sauna, stuff like that. Going to your medical staff, just getting the help you need to get you to be able to keep going and play healthy. Um, I would say that's pretty much it.
That's great stuff. No, that's great stuff. I think, some of the guys have been talking about that a lot as a forward. I'm sure, the contact plays a huge part in your game. And, you really have to focus on, some of the things that are outside of, I guess, just that tiny, those basic recovery movements, I guess, right? Talking about the lake time, the ice bath time, those kind of things are, just very important for the game. My phone is about to die here, and I'm going to need to grab a charger real fast. So I'm going to move with you here. Just saw that here in the top corner of the phone. Talking about kind of moving through the season here, you guys have really been able to, come together as a squad. We talk about the guys that you guys added over the past few weeks. My question is, what is it like to kind of have guys from different backgrounds coming together? We kind of talked about this last time, but I think, it really speaks to the age difference, I guess, in some of these guys in the squad. Adding some younger guys, kind of have some of those veterans. At the end of the season here, what do your guys' conversations look like, I guess, at this point in the year?
Well, I don't know everybody's conversations, but like my conversations, like personally,